Founders need to be salespeople. If you don't sell, you don't have a company. Mark Cuban once said. So sales isn't just about closing deals. It's about defining your company's growth trajectory and ensuring long-term sustainability. But as every founder eventually realizes, sales is a high-stakes game. So welcome to 2020X Vision Live, a monthly deep dive into sales, scaling, and revenue growth strategies. I am Vishwendra, your host, and today we are tackling one of the biggest growth dilemmas for B2B tech founders: founder-led versus expert-led sales, breaking barriers to rapid growth. Before we dive in, let's make this interactive. Drop a hi in the comments and tell us where you are joining from. If you have a question, post it in the comments and we'll ensure it gets addressed. Miss the segment, no worries. The session on demand replay will be available on this page. So you can access it and whenever you want to visit this page and go to our session. So, when I talk to B2B tech founders, I hear a couple of challenges and over again. Our product is industry best. Can you fix our sales conversions? So as a founder, I sound too salesy and rejections drain my energy and team's morale. Should I step back and outsource sales? Or, how do we break into new markets without an established network? So our company do not have a presence in that market. How can we build our network while we are sitting, at some other location? So while I'm getting all these questions, the fundamental question is: should sales transition from a founder to an expert leader, or do we transition from scrappy, inconsistent sales to a scalable, repeatable revenue engine? We have an incredible lineup of speakers today, leaders who have built and scaled companies and who have transformed sales functions across different growth stages. So we are going to discuss, or we are going to have a deep dive on some of these challenges today in this session. So let me welcome the speakers in the studio. Let me invite Mayank Purwa, CEO and board member, Next Gen Innovation Labs. We have Lee Blackstone, owner and CEO, Blackstone and Cullen Inc. Dean Noli, president and founder, Sales Growth Imagination. Nelson Fernandez, founder, Big Leaps Consulting. Then Manish Tiwari, founder, Grow with Manish. Before we move further, let me share a quick view of the session flow that we are going to have. So we are going to have a showdown from the field, B2B tech sales journeys, wherein you will learn firsthand how our speakers have navigated the world of B2B sales from early challenges to breakthrough moments. Then we are going to have a from founders fire to first traction. We'll discuss what it takes to go from idea to revenue and the key challenges in scaling. Then breaking the growth barriers is strengthening the sales engine. We'll discuss the growth barriers and how to strengthen the sales engine in terms of system processes and strategic hires needed to scale. Last segment is where we are going to discuss how to maintain founder vision while ensuring sustainable, scalable sales growth. And in the last, we are going through audience Q&A. I'll pick the questions that you are going to share in the comment box, and that I'm going to share with the expert panel, and we'll get your most pressing sales challenges addressed in real time. So before before moving forward, let's have a fun activity. Let me have a fun activity with the speakers, and I'll set the context for that fun activity. So I'd request every speaker to share two truths and a lie, which is in context with B2B tech sales. And our speakers will have to share three statements about their sales journeys. And as I said, it's going to be two should be true and one should be lie. And other speaker or other speakers are going to guess what is that lie. Okay, so let's begin with the introductions, and let's also have a speaker share their three statements, which is two truths and one lie. So let me begin with Lee. Lee,
Thanks,
if you
Vish.
could and share your three statements.
Thanks, Vish. It's great to be here today. I've been in B2B sales since I started in sales many, many years ago. And the truth that I have, I started selling mainframes against IBM. We had plug compatible mainframes. And I'm not sure if you're going to view this as a truth or a lie, but I have never lost to IBM in my entire career. And the other thing that's happened in the course of building our company over the last 36 years is 84% of our customers have been bonused or promoted as a result of the solutions we've delivered. And then the other truth or lie, you determine it. Promoting my chief sales officer to chief operating officer of my company was the best thing that I ever did. So, which is the truth and which is the lie? Well, the lie was promoting my chief sales officer to chief operating officer because he forgot that he was supposed to continue to run sales. And I did that as we were going to a very large Microsoft meeting. And I thought we could get more business if he had a better title. Really bad idea. So back to you, Vish.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your statements. Let me go to Nelson. Nelson, could you introduce yourself and share your three statements?
Sure. Hi everyone. This is Nelson Fernandez, and I'm founder at Big Leaps Consulting. We're in the game of helping salespeople elevate the sales profession and help you to sell rich, right, and real, and be authentic in your relationships with customers. Would that be good, Vish?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay. Spent about 32 years in corporate sales before I could start off with Big Leaps, and that's what I stand for. You want me to also participate in the truth and the lie game? This one's going to be.
We thought you already shared two statements, one lie.
That's a good one, Vish. So, okay, go figure it out, guys.
Okay.
One of the statement I would share is I was involved in a deal which, when it got to the table, was roughly the size of about $5 million, and I was able to work very closely with the customer to grow it all the way to a $97.5 million deal when we signed the contract. So that's one statement that I could share. The other statement is I won every single deal I ever touched in my life. And
Wow.
the third statement is, this one's difficult, Vish. I knew I'll goof up here.
So second was the lie.
They all three could be lies.
Okay, but thank you, Nelson. Thank you so much. Let me move to Dean.
Hey, good morning, Dean Nolly, founder, Sales Growth Imagination. We're powered by Sales Acceleration on the sales side, and fortunate to be powered by Blackstone and Cullen and Lee Blackstone in custom AI software development. What we do is help companies scale for their growth. So we're building sustainable models, taking them to scale. The reality is, when I get calls, most owners have been going backwards. They're having challenges with lack of or not a well-documented sales process, and a lot of challenges. So really, I'm diving in, building, fixing, repairing, or rebuilding. So, my truths and or lies. First one is I'm very passionate about helping companies build sustainable and then scalable models. Second, 2 of my last 3 clients actually closed me because I wasn't doing any selling, and it was so natural that they closed me. A little embarrassing, actually. And the third, I realized I was giving away too many nuggets, and I call it candy. When I'm out, I really want to help people. But when you help people, you wind up telling them too much. So you're helping them, but they're not using you. So one of my last clients, I literally went back and said, listen, I'm here to collect my candy and a contract too.
Awesome. Mayank or Manish, you want to guess which?
I think the last one.
Statement is
Last
the
one
lie?
was a lie.
Last
I would
one.
say the last one. Can be one.
Believe it or not, the last one was actually true. I've gone back to a lot of people that I think I've helped them. Probably didn't help myself. That's okay. But the one that is not true is the sustainable to scalable. While that is something I enjoy, what I enjoy most, and you'll hear it when you listen to my story as a business owner, I like diving in and helping people. And with small businesses where things aren't working and you need to fix, repair, rebuild, or they never existed, so you have to build, I really enjoy doing that. And it's like a walk down memory lane for me. So I prefer the smaller accounts because I know I can help them quicker. And there's nothing more gratifying than doing that.
Thank you, Dean. Thank you so much. Let me now quickly invite Mayank.
Yeah. So thanks, Vish, and thanks for giving the opportunity over here. Mayank here, been in the industry for the past 32 years, doing sales, doing marketing, doing project excellence, doing business excellence, and so on and so forth. And around about 7 years ago, I decided to to move on from corporate life to venture on my own and uh, started a startup, and then since then invested in a couple of other companies, driving. So done both corporate sales as well as uh, venture part, as well as driving or scaling sales once you have reached to a minimum level of sales that you may want to have for a startup. So coming onto my two truths and a lie, it was hard to really define that. But okay. So the first of the three is I cracked a multi-million dollar deal by winning the trust of the key stakeholders. All the deals that I won needed a lot of effort. It was not a it was not a just going there and making it big. So it was really a lot of hard work. And I always had the liberty to close a deal from the beach, but I never did.
Yeah.
That's nice. Okay, so you got a liberty to close a deal from a beach. Wait, not that many people get that opportunity. Manish, what do you say?
I guess we all know what lie was. I wish all salespeople had this liberty and also closed it.
I heard about President Club. I heard about President's Club a lot. And President's Club normally, salespeople who are part of President's Club, they
Yes.
go to these lavish beaches for sure.
Yeah. No, absolutely. But I don't know how many of them really close a deal from that beach.
Yeah, that is
But
true.
they do
If they are
go.
working from there.
Yeah. Awesome. Good evening, everyone, and good morning, good afternoon if you're joining from a different time zone. I'm Manish Tiwari. Excited to be here with all my fellow panelists who are themselves very distinguished in the sales field. I've completed 25 years into selling, 23 years into the B2B corporate space, where I worked across different industries: telecom, consulting services, and edtech. And then about 2.5 years back, I moved out and started on my own as a solopreneur. And that's how I call myself. I'm a solopreneur, not really a startup in that sense. But now I work with individuals and small business owners and startups to help them level up their B2B, especially B2B and B2B services selling game. That's what I do, and I love my this new job that I have myself given. One, nobody can fire me from that except myself, and the other is every day I get to learn. As I teach, I also get to learn. Now coming to the three things. Number one, I have closed a big sales deal almost most of the time towards the last month of my sort of notice period in a company in most of my career. That's number one. Number two, I have constantly maintained almost close to 50% prospect closing rate in my sales career. And number three, I have I've done my targets at least 90% of time in my sales career. You have to guess what is false.
Oh, that's really tough. Anyone would like to guess? I think Nelson can guess. Nelson?
No, I can't tell that about Manish. Very difficult.
Manish, I think it's the last one.
Yes. Yes.
I would guess the
90%.
leads.
I wish I could close 90% of the time, but it was not like that. But yeah, thanks for this, guys. I'm excited to be with all of you and share my thoughts.
You gave the hint in the first one that you
Yeah.
always close the deal in your last month.
But that's the reality, I've seen so many who are, so many salespeople who are actually looking for that end of the sales cycle to come and close all the deals and be the champion in the team. But thank you so much. Thank you for being so sporty and coming out and sharing your truths and lie. I think this is
I'll
very
just
interactive.
I'll just confirm, Vish. In my case, I didn't get a chance to say which one was the truth and which one was the lie. So the $5 million deal, which we converted to $97.5 million, is the truth. It is a fact that happened while I was with TCS, and it was a deal from North America. And the customer was based in North America, Houston. And the second one, which I said, was that I closed every deal that came on the table, was not true. So that was false. It's not possible in the sales world that you will have the Midas touch on everything you touch. So one has to remember that you win some, you lose some, and that's how it's going to be always, right? So yeah.
Awesome. So now that we have warmed up, let's get into real stories. Our panelists have been in the trenches. Some have built sales from scratch. Others have scaled revenue engines, and some have navigated the tricky transition from founder-led to expert-led sales. So that's what you heard here when they were talking about themselves and shared three statements. So let me now invite Lee Blackstone, and he has a very interesting journey. And while being a founder, he has been also a salesperson for more than, I think, 3 decades. So I think he might have seen a time when there was actually no digital sales visible, and now we are in times where digital sales have taken priority over traditional sales. So Lee, I'd like to hear your journey of selling as a founder, the early challenges, and the decision to kind of scale your growth journey over the period of so many years.
I'm happy to make some comments on that. Thank you very much. When I was with Hewlett Packard, I was very fortunate. I got to sell to a lot of really smart people in the world, and I found that to be quite invigorating because I could learn from them, and that was my whole goal in life. The last 5 years at HP, I was fortunate. I was able to start from scratch with a clean sheet of paper and build Hewlett Packard's Global Accounts program, which we took to $1 billion. And that was starting in 1983 through 86. And we took that to $1 billion in revenue. So my background has been primarily in B2B sales everywhere I have been in my career. When I decided to start our company, it was based on how do you actually do briefings for senior executives who are going to call on Exxon or Shell or General Motors or Tata or a company like that. That's a tough thing to do when you have 2 minutes to brief them and they have 3 minutes to answer or ask questions. So we decided we would go build that, and we decided we would build it with one set of code that would run into either Oracle or Sybase and would run on either Mac or PCs. And people said we couldn't do that. Well, let me tell you, we did, but it was really hard to find teams of people who wanted to work in an obscure technology. So we decided that we would go after A players only that could see the vision of where we were going and what we were going to do. When we took this adventure, a couple of things that were important. We understood that we were going to be working for probably 2 years with no pay. So for those of you that are going to go in business for yourself, make sure that you can handle that. I took all of my retirement from Hewlett Packard and I invested it in those 2 years. And when you look at my Social Security, you'll see for 2 years straight, I made zero income, zero. But we came out with a great product. I relied on some of my friends from HP and fraternity brothers and people like that to help me get our first customer, which was AT&T. Not too bad to go into AT&T, and then the next customer was General Electric, and the next customer was 3M, etc. So you rely on some of your friends to get those special jobs. And it was quite rewarding. The thing that we focused on really were bringing in A players into the organization. Because of what we were doing and who we were calling on, we were dealing with the largest companies in the world, and they're only going to accept the A players. But we found if we had the A players there, then we got to stay forever. And that was a lot of fun. On the first deal was with AT&T, and the gentleman there, who's a dear friend of ours, he said, I see that you've built this for account management, but that's not really my problem. My problem is I have to account for all the time spent for these people for regulated and non-regulated businesses. And so one of the things we got was a great big order, but one of the other things we got was a headache because now we had a one-off from the product. So make sure when you build your products out, you may or may not want to begin to build one-off products right out of the bag. We did because we had to have the revenue, and that was one of the great things that we were able to get done. And the things that I would say that I encountered along the way, one was an agreement with my partner. We had a 50-50 split in equity. I own 50%, he owned 50%. Well, who makes the decisions? I wish I had this deal with my wife because my partner and I made this decision. We could present an idea, and if one of us said no, we didn't do it, and we didn't talk about it for 30 days. It kept things calm. My wife wouldn't agree to that, but I thought it was a good idea, and my partner and I stayed together for 25 years, and I bought him out about 10 or 11 years ago. But we had a great time together. He's a brilliant PhD in operations research. So together, we did some fantastic things. Some of the other things that's fun, I found out that there was a winery called Blackstone. And my last name being Blackstone, I would take a bottle of wine into my customers and I would set it on their desk. And I say, here's a bottle of wine. You can't drink this until you sign the purchase order, in which case we will together, I will come in and we'll drink it. And then I'll bring another bottle and I'll replace it so we can worry about the next purchase order. So that was kind of a fun thing that we would do for Christmas, and customers really got off on that. The other thing that we worried about is to make sure that your people, you take very, very good care of your people, especially if you're in the services business. They are your only assets. And every morning, I will never forget for years, and I still think about this. When I wake up in the morning, I've got 100 mortgages to pay. I'm paying 100 house notes for people. I just have to make sure that I am doing the right things the right way to make that happen. And I'll talk a little bit more in the next section about being the sales leader and being the CEO. So I'll turn it back over to you, Vish.
Thank you, Lee. Thank you so much. I think you shared a lot of tips as well while you talked about your journey. I like this. If you had that agreement with your wife, but I'm sure there are many founders who have actually built their company together with their wife. So they must be certainly having that kind of agreement. If it's workable for them. But yeah, thank you so much for your insights. One question that I have is, how, because you have seen those days where traditional sales, like you talked about, you took a wine and you impress a customer to sign your contract. Now in today's age, do you see a difference in terms of sales cycle, or in terms of the sales journeys that one should have?
I do. Yeah, it's gone through cycles. Every 10 years, there's a cycle, and I've lived through 5 of those since I've been in industry. So this is just, to me, it's another cycle, and you have to figure out how to accommodate. So as you move further into the digital space, it's a little more difficult, especially when we had COVID that tied to that. But yes, I do find it dramatically different. When I started, I got a phone book, a Yellow Pages, and a dial telephone. And they said, good luck and Godspeed. Go see if you can find somebody to sell to. And it's a little different today, because you can find out things. You can find out the personality of the people you're talking to, which we spoke of earlier today. You can find out the personality of your salespeople, and you can match those guys together and make sure you're getting the maximum performance that way. You've got AI that you can use to craft the message, things you never had before, and it makes you tremendously productive. But the close rate's lower. It used to be 10% or 20%. Now, just to transition to lead or prospect into a lead and then into a final journey could be in the 1% range. So you're having to do a lot more.
Yeah. So there's more effort which is needed to kind of to get the conversions. While at that time, few decades back, even a wine bottle could actually help signing the contract. But thank you so much, Lee. Thank you for sharing your journey. Let me now invite Mayank to talk about his journey. Mayank, you have a very different perspective as a CEO of a company which is not founded by you, but you are you must be balancing founder vision with personal sales strategies. So would you like to talk about how you are balancing that act and that journey, and share some insights with us? Over to you, Mayank. You're on mute.
Okay. Thanks, Vish. So as I mentioned earlier in the introduction time, the exposure that I have gained has actually, so there is a pretty good marriage between what I learned in my corporate days versus what I am implementing today. So I had the opportunity of utilizing what I learned during the corporate days on how to scale sales, how to define processes, and at the same time, let's say, as you mentioned, how to balance between the vision of the founder versus. So I actually draw upon the same thing which I used to do for my president, and I take it as a founder today. So the thought process of a president of a big company versus a founder of a startup or anything. It is about understanding the vision of the founder and then really breaking it down into smaller steps or milestones, and then really reconfirming with the founder whether this is what he is thinking about, he or she is thinking about. Once that particular part has been clarified, and it's been put down into a visionary goal, then into a strategic goal, and then into a realistic goal.
Hmm.
And so once that particular thing can be done, then you can start defining your processes, your sales processes, which will be in line, and at the same time the structure that needs um, to be aligned to the visionary strategy, to the strategic goal, to the realistic goal that you have to achieve. So that's the
Yeah.
first thing. Then comes how the processes have to be defined. So and the team that needs to be built up to be able to deliver that particular vision. So we have to keep three things at the same time: the vision, the visionary goal, the strategic goal, and the realistic goal. So realistic is more on an yearly basis how you have to achieve that, and the visionary goal is, let's say, 5 years or 6 years ahead. And based on that, the processes are defined. We are currently doing that. So processes is again based on what kind of sales are we going to do,
Hmm.
right? Whether it is a product led sales, or a service led sales, or a manpower outsourcing kind of sales, right? So we have to look at the categories that are there, that have to be taken up to be able to achieve that particular goal, and based on which we are defining those parts. So if I look at the sales, which is about first ensuring that we are reaching a level of around $10 million, and then from there scaling it to a $50 million,
Hmm.
right? So important is to structure the team, and then at the same time sales processes would be more or less similar in any B2B kind of an environment, right? It's only the focus which will differ based on product, services, or anything else, or human kind of
Yeah.
sales that we're doing. So I have actually looked at that particular part on how I implemented the sales processes when I came over in into this new venture of mine.
Hmm.
When I came over here, we were a small company with 2 or 3 people, but this has already grown up to 120 odd
Wow.
manpower, working in two geographies. One is in the US and the other is in India,
Hmm.
right?
That's
So
nice.
so the first thing that we looked at is, uh, what is the vision, what what are the different strategies that we have to bring in place, and
Hmm.
what do we achieve in 1 year, in 3 years, and in 5 years, based on which a sales uh, kind of a sales process where customer was right in, and we had business development as the first part, lead generation as the second part, lead qualification as the third part, opportunity forecasting, and then opportunity needs to be divided into what is the real forecast, the upside forecast, and upside forecast. Then the forecast needs to be divided into three parts, which is short term, medium term, and long term. And
Yeah,
then
Meg, that journey looks like more process driven, and I'm sure the processes are certainly very critical, especially for any sales organization to kind of function at the level which is needed or expected by. So I remember we also used to have balance and scorecard or Tata Business Excellence model that we used to follow in our organization, and that actually helps your entire sales journey to function like an engine. If processes are not defined, if the goals are not defined, then it can be broken anytime. But thank you so much, Meg. I'll quickly move to Dean to talk about his journey. Dean, I understand you had uh, your experience is very different. You founded a company and then you exited. So now you are an advisor. So what is your learning from selling a company versus selling a product or service? And what
Right.
are the
Hey,
common founder mistakes?
great question. And I did have that one slide I just teed up, Vish. Just one comment to make on Lee Blackstone, because, it's funny. I've watched his journey. And while we run in a lot of the same circles, in other cases, we don't. And the one thing I will tell you, I have watched him transform to the point now that his reputation walks through the door before him. And I can tell you that leaders in the Atlanta, Georgia, and really expanding are seeing him as one of the top AI leaders in custom software development. So I just wanted to put that plug in because I've been seeing Lee out doing a ton of educational events to build that reputation. So hats off to Lee there. I don't know if the slide's showing, Vish.
No, it's
Yep.
not. Dean.
Yeah,
There it is.
there we go. Yeah, just, and as you heard earlier, I mean, Dean Nolly, Sales Growth Imagination. Ironically, and you heard me talk about me doing what I do today is walking down memory lane. And that's exactly what it is. Most people that do what I do spend a lot of time in corporate. Well, I intentionally left corporate, as those of you that know me, already know. But one of the things that I've always been in, similar to Lee, is on the front end of leading, or you can call it bleeding edge at times. So not unlike the AI today, me and a partner started a company back in the first transformation. And you can make an argument, microfilm, microfiche to imaging, or was it digital cameras, thermal dye sub printers going from film? But we went into a company called Digital Imagination. And what we saw as an opportunity is all the service providers were really hesitant or reticent of moving forward with digital. Very similar to what you see in AI today. So we went out and built a company, Digital Imagination. I had a wonderful partner, Pete Orsini, still one of my dear friends in life today, which I think a lot of us that start a business, sell a business, I'm not sure a lot of people can say that. But what we did is we used the Olympics as a catalyst, and we went out and started doing all the instant gratification. So as a business owner, what I see with clients today, they're either struggling, going backwards, or things are really broke, or they're growing so fast, but it's not scalable. Things aren't even, sustainable today. And in our case, on a positive side, everything we touched, we were winning. And as an example, what we went into our business, we looked at fixed venues first. So what you're seeing is a couple of images from the Atlanta Braves. If you went into the old Turner Field and you saw a chroma key, like green, blue background screen, you wanted to be put into an image with Fred McGriff pointing up to right field, or Sid Bream with that unbelievable fast run he did. He was really very slow. Sliding in, you would have been right there with the ref, making the baseball cards on the fly. So we looked at that and said, wow, we're winning these fixed venues and we're really good at this. And no one else even knew how to do digital. So we expanded, won the Wild World of Sports at Disney World. We won the Richard Petty driving schools. And we said, what other fixed venues can we go into? And we said, well, let's do the golf courses. So we picked Myrtle Beach, Hilton Head, a company that was there. We acquired them. We brought them into the fold. So if you went to, say, Harbor Town at Hilton Head, and you had your picture taken in the first tee box, that was us taking the picture. But we did it from a traditional camera, film-based, to digital. So again, we were winning everything we were touching. So the one thing that we started doing is we started outgrowing our structure, our operational structure, our people, our HR, onboarding. But the more that we won, the more excited we got. We said, hey, if we're doing all these fixed venues, let's take the technology and let's go into corporate at night. So like one example, Johnson & Johnson had 6,000 employees and customers, and they had all the actor and actresses from Cats on Broadway to come and do some skits and plays. And then we did everyone had their photograph and left. Then we said, hey, why don't we expand into other markets? So we went to Orlando full-time, Palm Springs, Tucson area. We said, hey, Vegas is another great event where we can leverage golf courses or fixed venues in the day, going into corporate at night. Then we said, what's near and dear to everyone's heart? It's Santa Claus and Easter Bunny. So we realized all the mall providers doing the Polaroid pictures, that they had the great relationship. So instead of competing, we went in and partnered with them, and we enabled them so that eventually you and your spouse were able to get a nice template with the photo and a file. That was digital imagination. But I'm only saying this because the amount of consternation that it created, we had to slow down. We were losing good people. We were starting not to do the quality of service that we had started with and the reputation we had built. So, all of a sudden you start looking at wondering about making payroll because you've grown so quickly and you have 3 or 4 very large accounts. What happens is multiple of them get behind. How are you going to make that payroll on 240 employees? So, in our case, we did well. It sounds great. But the truth is, as the guy that helps people build sustainable and scalable models, we did not have our model sustainable. And as a leader, it produced us with a lot of challenges. You get blind spots too. So we had our best manager embezzled some money because part of our business was cash at the golf courses right underneath our noses. And we didn't know it because we were so darn busy in the business, and we were blind to it because we loved this guy. But we really weren't managing the business correctly. So that's kind of our part, Vish. So I've kind of walked the walk in a lot of these owners. And while it's glamorous and it was fun growing and winning everything we touched, unfortunately, we grew way too quick and did not have the structure in place.
Thank you, Dean. Thank you so much. Let me quickly move to Nelson. Nelson, you have transitioned from large enterprise sales to a full-time sales coaching. So what's been the biggest shift in your thinking about sales?
Sure, Wish. I think the whole world around me changed from that scenario where you worked at this conglomerate, Tata Consultancy Services, and you have everything around you. You have whatever you need, everything on your table in your office, and you just ask for it and you get it, right? And you just kind of focus on that big board out there, and you figure out what you got to do to hit the next orbit in the trajectory. And that was something that I didn't realize we enjoyed all of those benefits while working in a large corporate organization like TCS. You have your teams around you. You have layers of all of those L1s and L2s and L3s who finally go out on the field and sell. And so we don't sometimes realize, all of those goodies that come along with those kind of jobs. Fast forward to big leaps. I mean, when I kind of decided I was turning 50 and I wanted to do something different, I wanted to do something that will touch salespeople on the planet and beyond what I did for folks within TCS, and that was the great opportunity ahead of me. Uh, as a solopreneur, like Manish would like to call who we really are. You are the clerk. You're the head clerk. You're the admin. You're the marketing guy. You're the one and all. And but the good part is, and the challenging part is, being a sales coach, right? Because I have to walk the talk. I got to show that I can. I got the right to coach. I have to ensure that wherever I go and whoever I speak with about baseline selling, I must make a dent, I must make an impact, and I should be able to go ahead and win those prospects as my customers. And so I'm very glad that somehow there's a lot of abundance, and I seem to have struck some magical chord somewhere, or probably it's the way I'm able to position what we do at Big Leaps, and there's been a great demand. And yeah, I mean, the difference between the well-paying corporate job versus now as a solopreneur and being able to, or rather having to do everything by yourself, is in itself a big paradigm shift. And
Yeah.
but
Let
it
me
is it is great for people who can take up challenges like this. It is not for everyone. You need to have the mettle to be able to manage the ups and downs. It's not the salary that you will get in your bank account at the end of the month. You do it or you don't do it. Here you have to do whatever it takes, and it's survival instincts that eventually kind of get you to what you want to do. You have to think
thank
big,
you. Thank you. Nal. Let me now
inspire.
invite Manish, who is also a solopreneur, to share quickly about how has been his journey and what are the how his roles have influenced perspective on scaling sales. Quickly, Manish,
So
and
thanks, Vish. And let me start with a statement which I always say is, if as a business owner, as a founder, you don't have a sales strategy or you are not involved in sales, then I believe you are not running a business. You are actually doing a hobby. That's typically how I look at selling. That's why that's maybe the opening statement. In terms of my own experience, slightly different from Nelson. I worked with a lot of startups in my corporate career. So I think in the hindsight, it was always good for me, because when you work with startups, and especially early stage startups and bootstrapped and, let's say, very low funded startups, you don't have that much luxury, right? You have to go sell. Even the founders sell, and everybody sort of sells in that sense. So when I turned solopreneur, the transition was not that sort of different, I would say. Uh, Having said that, I think two, three key insights, especially related to the topic here today, which is founder led, expert led. One, I believe every founder should be involved in sales, especially at the beginning stage. And I've seen most successful founders where I have worked with have been involved in selling. Two, three reasons for it. Founders have a belief which an outsider may never really get. Number two, founders bring a very different type of passion, because it's their baby type of a thing, right? And third, very, very simple, economical. You can't hire big experts when you are starting. So you as it is, go and sell. So that's one. I think that's the one thing which I always tell, and I've observed from the founders thing, part of it. Second, the maybe the contra part of it is, founders should also move out of day-to-day sales at a certain point of time. What that point is honestly what I think makes a startup successful or not. When I say move out, does not mean completely disassociate, but your role as a founder changes in the sales cycle at a certain stage in the company. That stage will differ from an organization to an organization, but typically when you reach a certain level, it's always a great idea to get in experts from outside who can do, and that's a role I have played a lot in my career, where I sort of joined in the early stage founder who already had got let's say a few clients and was looking to scale. I think that's the right time to get in an expert, because an expert brings a different perspective, different passion, different energy and systems out there. And then the founder's role, I believe, shifts, and the founder then becomes more involved at maybe a strategic level, getting involved into certain deals, but not into the day-to-day type of a thing. I guess that's how I look at it. That's how I have experienced it. And I have worked with some very successful startups in the country. And that's the playbook, if you ask me, is what I have seen work. And just to sort of conclude, in my own role as my own sort of startup that I run, I've tried to carry that lesson in. And while obviously I sell and I do a lot of my stuff, I ensure that some of the things I do outsource. And at the right time, maybe I'll also get in somebody, but not at this stage, because I'm currently sort of building the thing. So I think that's how I look at it. That's how my journey has really been, some key insights. Over to you, Vish.
Thank you, Mayank. So the idea was this conversation is primarily to understand from each one of you what's the journey that you guys have, and what learnings that we can, the audience and people who actually want to understand the real journeys of founders and sales leaders. What are the various challenges, strategies, or tools that you're kind of roped in order to grow your business. Now, since we are short of time, I'll quickly go through the three other segments, but we'll have a very short kind of a discussion for each of these segments. So the first one is, of course, in terms of what are the power and perils of founder-led sales? What makes this effectively initially? And what does the founder magic start to? When does the founder magic start to fade? So quickly, if you could share, it's a question to the panel. So if you could share some insights that comes to your mind.
Hey,
Anyone
just
of you?
one, Vish, and I'll do it quick. I think that whatever the founder's background is in the company, whether it be CFO, CIO, ops, marketing, or sales, I think unfortunately that becomes their blind spot. I know it was for me in my own company. I see that with clients today. So I think that's the biggest I see. So the toughest owners for me to work with are sales led, because I can help them, but when I start messing with their baby, they're not going to like it.
I can relate to that.
I can agree. I mean, if you have a sales-led founder, he will make your life hell.
But it is so hard to break away when you are, you grew up in sales and you're running the company and you've written sales software and you become kind of a world expert on sales, and all of a sudden you're going, somebody tells me I can't do this anymore. Oh, I don't think so. However, you've got to break yourself away. You become the brand when that happens, and you do not want to be the brand if you ever want to sell your company. So make sure you break yourself away and let someone else come in and take over. Dean is great at helping people pick out the right kind of salespeople and get the right thing in place to take care of the owners and make sure that they do not screw up and try to continue to be the sales leader.
And founders can continue to kind of guide and mentor the teams, and they don't disappear from the scene, really. Yeah. I mean, they can focus their energies on some very key accounts that they might want to pursue and take them to a particular level, and then very nicely hand it over to the guys from sales who can then take it forward and run with those teams, right? So no one's telling the founders to completely stay away. Yeah.
The point I'd like to just man. Yes, you're going.
Go ahead, man.
There's just quick one point. The way I like to summarize this, when the founder should move away, in my view, is when the founder realizes that instead of being an enabler, is becoming an obstacle. That's when they should really move. And as Nelson said, it's not about moving away. It's about changing gears, shifting gears, and taking a different role. That's how I look at it. Yeah, man.
The problem is there is so much of passion, there is so much of my baby in it, that it's very difficult for the founder to figure out that they have got to a point where they need to step away a little, 2 steps back, I mean, and that's the dilemma, that's the tragedy. Yeah.
So what we have got an experience here with, when we were driving it, the founder was requested to be functioning like a board member. All the pointers will come to him, of course, and discussed in a board. So the CEO, the CFO, and the founder can discuss the things, define a plan, define an action plan, and then bring it forward to the team for the CEO to then take it forward.
I think there's one other key thing to think about. If you're having financial issues in your company or things are not going the way you want them to go, you cannot deliver your way out of it. You cannot come up with a culture your way out of it. The only way you can do it is to sell your way out of it. So many times that owner or that founder is going to step back in and they're going to save their baby. They're going to save that company. So we have to, if you want to make sure that they don't interfere, stay over quota. Stay way over quota, and they will probably stay away and leave you alone. Right?
So in fact, if I could just relate to what we discussed, we also built a kind of a 5-pointer framework, which is more like a radar. So that could actually help a founder identify what are the growth plateaus and where they could kind of revisit their strategy and get an external help. So I'll just quickly bring up that slide here. So it's the first one is the revenue stagnation lead that you mentioned. So if the sales slow down, then second is the acquisition cost spikes, wherein the rising CAC could actually be a challenge, because that means there's a lot of effort that is going in terms of conversions. Then declining retention. So existing customers, we see a lot of churn, and there's low repeat business. And there's an alignment breakdown if there are multiple functions which are there, sales, marketing, product team, and if there's misalignment, which is kind of bringing your sales down, then that's another red flag that you should be mindful of. And the fifth one is the resource strain, wherein overwhelmed teams, inefficient scaling, so on and so forth. So these are the 5 pointers which I feel are very critical when you are looking at, when you want to assess whether you reach a growth plateau. If you have more than 2 factors which are occurring together, it's time to act. And it's time to kind of bring in external help. So you can get a sales strategist to help you on revenue stagnation. You can get a growth marketer for acquisition cost management, then customer success leader for declining retention, revenue ops specialist for alignment breakdown, and for resource strain, you can have revenue ops as well as AI automation, which is kind of helping a lot, especially startups or small and mid-sized companies who are struggling with resource crunch. Then they can certainly they should be leveraging AI a lot. So that's I thought I'll just bring up these slides and share some perspective. But yes, in terms of we also talked about balancing the founder's vision and the processes. So while of course it's kind of, we can get a help from external, but how as a founder you should ensure that you are balancing that vision. How as a founder as well as a sales expert you are ensuring that there's a balance of the vision for the organization and also the processes that they are laying out. Because as a salesperson, there are of course a lot of processes that you want to drive, you want to see day in day out. But at the same time, founder may have a different vision. So what insights do you have to share in balancing the vision and the processes?
Hey, just one quick one, Vish. I mean, Lee and I work in an environment where we work with a lot of EOS implementers. And really, I think we both approach our businesses in the same fashion. And that is, think of it as a visionary and think of it as an integrator, which means the integrator is really looking at the traction. And I think the best way to really focus on both is you've got to separate those roles and responsibilities. So getting that right sales leader, mentoring them, potentially paying for them to participate like in a great CEO peer group like Vistage or Tab, or on the faith-based with C12 and Joe Patrick and his group and the surrounding states. So I think there's a lot of stuff you can do to help them get coaches and support and really invest in them. But as you're doing that, you're involved, but you're kind of starting to step away.
And maybe the way I just add a small point, the way I look at it is, again, metaphorically, is once you have a sales leader and a sales expert, and then you're a founder and you still want to win, obviously, the way to look at it, the way I look at it is that the sales leader or the sales expert is responsible for somebody to win the race, to run the race, and the founder's role is to ensure that they are winning the right race. So they're actually doing the right thing. There's no point winning the wrong race. So that's how I think I'll metaphorically try to sort of distinguish them. And obviously, at the point that being said, the second role is to ensure that all the enabling things that the sales leader and the sales team is there, that sort of gets covered. That's how I look at it.
Thank you, Manish. So, before we wrap up our session, I'll also request audience, in case if you have any questions, please share your questions in the comment box, and we'll take these questions now, or we can address those questions at a later stage. But yeah, coming back to the panel, any further insights that you have to share for balancing act?
I think the panel did a great job today. Let me thank everybody for their great work. And thank you for Vish and the team putting this together. And we look forward to the next one.
Thank you so much, Lee. Thank you for, I think we had a very interactive session today. And I'd like to also thank the audience who joined this session, and they might have actually learned a lot from what we shared in our discussion today. Our next session is on 20th of March, which is on what a buyer really wants. Sell smart, win more across markets. So do register for that session. We'll be sharing that. So I'm going to just quickly pull in the banner that we have for the next session. And here we are going to talk a lot about B2B buyer in terms of their motivations, in terms of their priorities, and how these B2B buyers may differ in their approaches across different markets, especially in North America and India. So do join us for this session. But thank you so much for joining. I see there are a couple of comments which are coming up. So there's a question which is from Namita. How can I make sure my leads trust our company? As we are in the market, companies hesitate to do business with us.
Hey, Vish, I'll take that. I think most small business owners are very busy in their business. So it is difficult to get to them. And based on experience, they don't want to be sold. So you've got to find a way to build that trust in a way that you're not selling to them. And it's counterintuitive to what we've all been taught in sales. But I think that unfortunately is common. So I think you've got to find a way to do continuous touches through all mediums, shows like this, what you're doing on LinkedIn, what you're doing direct. But it's going to take, my experience, a dozen to a couple dozen touches at different venues to start getting them to even be receptive to working with you. Or find a great person that you're connected to, leveraging AI, and see if that person can make a personal introduction. That is probably one of the few things I know to shortchange the process. I mean, I know you live in that. I mean, I don't know if that's similar for you, but
let me talk about that. When we rolled a lot into the AI space, I started doing webinars to try to show us as thought leaders. And we didn't begin to get traction on that until after our 52nd or 53rd weekly webinar.
wow.
So you're going to put in a lot of effort. We are now on, I think today is going to be number 83. And we're going to talk about fun things in AI, but you're going to have to spend some time and you're going to have to get out. Dean is one of the greatest networkers in the world. He probably has 5 to 10 face-to-face meetings a day with people. And that's not what people are used to now. They're used to sitting at home and working from their computers and hoping that they're going to close business. And that's not the way it's going to be anymore. I think we're going back into a mode of where we're going to have to get out and talk to people and be face-to-face with them, is what I'm seeing.
I have a piece of advice for Namita Mahajan too, Vish, with your kind permission. I always advise, if you're new in the market and people don't know you, it's always good to go into your warm connections. People who you have worked with in the past, somewhere, somehow, and there is familiarity. You are the brand. That's where it begins, right? You are the brand, and that's going to kind of grow and then build on to the business. So you don't go and start your mailing campaigns all over the planet, spray and pray, to people who don't even know you or your business. Rather, go and meet people you know. Build your book of business with the first 2, 3, 4, 10 clients, and then use them as references to be able to then go, or they recommend you to their connections, or whichever way that works well, to be able to grow your business. Never go and completely cold and do the spray and pray. It won't work.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And just to add maybe a point on, I think I agree with everything that Nelson, Lee, and Dean said. Just 2 quick points on that. One way to build warm connections, one, obviously the people that you know, as Nelson said. Another is, I think sales is a lot of education. And if let's say you're new in the market, the way people to trust you is that if they see, for example, your content in whatever social media you are active. Today, we all have social media, and whatever you are selling, your client is on one of these social media, either Insta, Facebook, or LinkedIn, wherever. There's definitely some place there. If you share valuable content, authority building content, where you talk about your knowledge, your expertise, whichever domain you are in, and as everybody said, consistently 3 months, 6 months, it normally will take more time than you think. First, think of a time and then double it. That's exactly what's going to happen in real life. And just a very interesting, that builds trust. Nothing builds trust more than sharing knowledge and information. That's number one. And be your own case study. Let's say you don't have too many clients, and if you have achieved a lot in your career, I'm sure if you're doing some startup, then you must be having some knowledge about that area. Then build your own case study. You are the case study. Then if there is no case study, then you are the case study. And just a fun fact, not just a fun fact, but a real thing. How much time does it take to get a customer? There was this survey, I think this research done by one of the top copywriters of the world, that it takes about 20 emails for a person from a first time they have seen your email. They need to see 20 emails from you and open it and before they buy. And this is for a guy who's great at copywriting. So please understand, if you are doing email marketing, if you are doing something, it is going to take some amount of time. You just need to be much more consistent and be there much more than what we normally do.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I think that was great insights. I think, Namita, you might have got all the golden advice from various speakers that we have today. And I tell you one more thing. So if you are not even satisfied, you can reach out to each one of them and have this one-on-one conversation. I think everyone would be happy to have that conversation with you. But thank you so much for joining this session, and it was a pleasure to host all the speakers that we have today. It's been a great, very interactive session that we have. And I'm looking forward to see you again on 20th of March. So thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
And,
thank you, everyone. Great being there.
Thanks, Vish.
Thank you, Vish.
Thank you.
Everybody have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.